Brad Stevens and the Boston Celtics suffered a horrid season full of injuries last year, with Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward and Daniel Tice all suffering season-ending injuries. Then, in the playoffs, Jaylen Brown pulled his hamstring and was clearly limited for the rest of the series. But the genius coaching of Brad Stevens, combined with the effort and play from their young studs and their veteran Al Horford, led them to taking the Cavaliers and Lebron to 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, LeBron has moved to the Lakers, the Celtics have re-signed Marcus Smart, and Irving and Hayward are coming back from their injuries. Boston looks primed to make a charge at the NBA Finals for the first time since the Big Three era. This video will cover the decision to re-sign Marcus Smart, and then review how the entire Celtics roster will work next season, before touching on why Brad Stevens is the perfect coach to take Boston back to the NBA Finals. And let's start with Marcus Smart. The defensive guard signed a brand new contract with the Celtics worth $52 million over 4 years. When taking a look at other players in this price range, you see that Marcus got a pretty fair contract for his skills as a player. Some may argue that Danny Ainge overpaid for a guard who can't shoot threes, but that overlooks the incredible defensive intensity that Smart brings to the Celtics. Coming off of the bench or starting, Marcus shapes the energy and pressure that the Celtics can bring when he's on the court. From diving on loose balls to guarding the opposing team's best player, Smart simply does it all. But most importantly, he doesn't complain one iota while doing it. Smart is happy to simply guard opposing players and grab rebounds if that is what his team needs. This is perfect as a guard alongside Kyrie Irving. The offensive star will always utilize most of the possessions reserved for guards, as he is simply so gifted at breaking down defenses and scoring. Marcus Smart is the perfect guard to play alongside Kyrie and has shown in the past how effective he can be alongside him. And although he can't shoot threes to take advantage of the extra spacing, he can drive into the teeth of defenses using the space and either shoot himself in the paint or dish it out to his teammates. And Marcus meant more to the Celtics than just his play. His passion for the team and the green has become clear. That intensity can be contagious in the locker room and is so integral to building a championship team. You could see it on past Celtics teams with Rondo and Kevin Garnett, and you can see it with Draymond Green on the Warriors now. The intense desire and belief in your ability to win shines through when you're down 20 and the game looks impossible. Smart brings that intensity, and it is priceless. Despite this, the price of his contract is also very interesting for other reasons. When combined with Marcus Morris' contract, it is almost an exact match for Jimmy Butler's salary and allows the Celtics to trade only these 2 players to the Wolves in exchange for Jimmy Butler. Now, this doesn't mean anything will happen, but if the midway point of the season arrives and Butler still clearly wants out of Minnesota, would they trade him for Smart, Morris, and 1 or 2 of the Celtics' numerous draft picks this season? It is an interesting footnote of the Marcus Smart signing and shows that Ainge is very precise in every move he makes, who he signs and how much he signs them for, in order to maintain roster flexibility. And this possibility is made even more realistic by the fact that Marcus Morris is probably the most expendable piece on the Celtics roster from last season. The small and power forward had a solid season last year and carried the Boston offense through stretches where they found themselves without a lot of scoring power. But he isn't as efficient a player as Tatum, Hayward, and Jaylen Brown, and will likely find himself relegated to the bench more than he did this past season. And this is due to the return of Gordon Hayward. Hayward was the Celtics' huge free agency signing the past offseason after signing Al Horford the year before. But he only managed to play 5 minutes in his first season in the green before being sidelined for the entire year. This time out of the game was fantastic for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to feature as the primary offensive options. Both of them absolutely blossomed into two-way wings last year who looked like they could eventually develop into all-star level players. But now Hayward returns to the starting lineup as an all-star level wing, and the Celtics will likely start all 3 of these players on the wing. And to be honest, I don't think I can remember a better shooting wing trio that can also defend at all 3 positions. The shooting of this trio will be off the charts, with Jaylen Brown and Gordon Hayward both shooting 39.8% from deep in their last full seasons of basketball. Then there is Jason Tatum, who shot 43.4% in his first season from deep and recorded the highest ever corner 3 shooting stats last year. There'll be absolutely no issue spacing the floor, and I think Hayward might be even better at shooting than he was previously, as he did a lot of work on his shooting while rehabbing his leg. But the offensive firepower doesn't end with the shooting, as Hayward and Tatum have some fantastic footwork and scoring ability off of the dribble and in the post. Then there is Jaylen Brown, who is one of the most athletic players in the entire league and showed he could get to the rim and score last season. This scoring ability will make them incredibly tough to contain on the offensive end, and it isn't as if they are surrounded with an average point guard and an average center. They have two all-stars at these positions, Al Horford and Kyrie Irving. These two players were the engine behind the Celtics offense last season, of course before Kyrie Irving went down with his own injury. Kyrie and Al form one of the hardest to stop pick and roll duos in the entire league. This is due to both of their ability to score all over the court, shoot threes, and pass the ball well. When Kyrie comes around an Al Horford screen, there are seemingly infinite possibilities. He can pull up for a three, take a dribble in for a mid-range jumper, drive for a layup or a floater, or pass it to Horford. And here is where the possibilities come in. Al can do so many different things when he comes out of a screen. Horford is excellent at slipping screens early to get to the cup, and he can also roll traditionally alongside a guard or fade out to the three-point line. This combination means that teams have to decide what look they are going to let the Celtics get, and most of them decide on doubling Kyrie. This forces them to scramble back to Big Al when he fades to the three-point line and to hedge when he rolls to the paint. When Kyrie hits Al at the top of the key, it is essentially over for the opposing defense. He's a lethal three-point shooter, and when awkward big men close out on him too quickly, he slips past them with ease to get to the rim or to easily pass out of double teams to a wide-open teammate. The pick and roll game between these two is absolutely deadly, and when you surround it with the shooting and secondary creation of Brown, Tatum and Hayward, you have the potential for an incredible offensive system. But before we get to what that system could look like, I want to talk about the other thing that Kyrie Irving brings to the offense. Irving's isolation skills will be an incredible return to the lineup this season, especially in the playoffs. No matter how good your team is, there are going to be times when your offense grinds to a halt and can't score through passing and pick and rolls. In these situations, you need a player who can simply give the ball to and ask them to score. Kyrie is one of the most talented scorers in the entire league when it comes to isolation. This begins with his incredible handle, which he uses to break defenders down and get past them, or have them fall off of him. Then he can score at the rim with an incredible ability to spin the ball off the backboard in any way he likes, or simply rise up for a mid-range jumper. Kyrie has all of the moves, and watching him score in isolation for Boston was an absolute treat last season. And in the Eastern Conference Finals against Lebron and the Cavaliers, you could really see them missing Irving and Hayward's isolation ability as their offense ground to a halt. This will no longer happen with Irving on the court, and the Celtics should have one of the best offenses in the league next season. And this will be in part due to Brad Stevens himself. Brad has become one of the best coaches in the league, and the praise has flown from all around the NBA. Stevens runs a motion offense that utilizes a lot of screens, both pinning along the baseline and at the elbows. These allows his wings and guards to run across the baseline and up towards the wing or the free throw line and catch the ball there. He also runs a lot of dribble handoffs into mini pick and rolls with Al Horford off of the perimeter. By running these along with the pin down screens, he has all 5 players constantly moving and threatening to score. And this is the key to Brad's offense: movement. Everything is based on the idea that if all the players move, the scoring will come as a natural result of this and the defense breaking down. And with players like Smart, Irving, Horford and Hayward driving the passing, the ball tends to find its way into the right player's hands most of the time. But where Brad is continually underrated is on the defensive side of the ball. Stevens coached one of the best defenses of the year last year and showed how versatile his system was as he lost player after player. Each one of the players on his roster would simply step into the role, step to the right positions and guard their player effectively. But it was his adjustments in the playoffs that blew me away the most, especially against the Philadelphia 76ers, where he essentially allowed Embiid to go one-on-one with Baines and baited him into average post-up shots and turnovers. Then he also had every single player help to seal Ben Simmons out of the paint and forced him to pass the ball away when he attempted to make a drive, making most of the fact that the talented point guard didn't have a jump shot. These kinds of adjustments make a huge difference over the course of a series, and Brad will use all of his defensive knowledge in the playoffs next year in a bid to make the NBA Finals. Because the Eastern Conference is wide open, and the Philadelphia 76ers, Toronto Raptors, and the Boston Celtics are easily the 3 best teams currently in the conference. And I think the Celtics probably have the best shot out of these 3 teams to make it to the finals. They have the most playoff experience of the last 2 years, an incredibly deep and talented roster, and the best coach out of all 3 teams by far. There is no doubt that a lot of this will simply depend on injuries and the form of each team, but if I was a betting man, my money would be on Boston. And once in the NBA Finals, anything can happen. Fans will declare that no one can beat the Warriors and that 5 all-star starting lineup, but you simply never know. Stranger things have happened in the NBA before. Durant or Curry could get injured, Boogie Cousins could ruin that chemistry, or they may simply lose a series that many think they shouldn't. Plus, Brad Stevens and the Celtics managed to beat the Warriors in both games last year, and there is nothing to suggest they couldn't do it in the playoffs. If any coach was capable of coming up with a plan to stop the Warriors, it is probably either Popovich or Stevens. And Stevens is really the only coach with the brains and the personnel to do it. His wings and Marcus Smart, combined with Al Horford, have so much defensive versatility that they could switch every single screen and expend a large amount of energy on Durant and Steph Curry, as they have the depth to manage the minutes. So while many have stated that this season is a foregone conclusion, I wouldn't be so sure, because Brad Stevens and the Celtics lie waiting in the East. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more NBA videos in the future. And let me know what you think of Brad Stevens and the Boston Celtics in the comment section below.